Are you a certified scuba diver? Are you thinking about getting certified? Have you thought about Thailand as a scuba diving destination? Well, maybe you should. Stick around and I'll give you some great information. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Traveling Fool. Today is November 16, 2019. It's getting a little bit chilly where I live. Maybe it's a little chilly where you live, so I thought what better thing to talk about than a nice warm tropical climate in a beautiful island called Phuket, Thailand. Specifically, I'm going to talk to you about scuba diving in Phuket, Thailand. This is going to be a multi-part video. I'm going to have 3 videos in the series, I believe. Today I'm going to talk specifically about just general overview of scuba diving in Phuket, Thailand. It's going to talk about the dive sites that are available for you. It's going to talk about what a typical dive day is like for you. And then also I'm going to get into a little bit about hotels. We're not going to go any specific recommendations. I'm not going to give you any specific places to stay. Really what I'm going to talk about is general locations on the island with respect to where you're likely going to be doing your diving. So you can sit here and you can look at me on the screen all day, but let's jump upstairs. We're going to go get onto a computer and we're going to pull up a map and I'm going to start walking you through all of the different dive sites. Okay, so we're looking at a dive map of Phuket, and obviously the main thing that probably comes to mind that you notice right off the bat is Chalong Bay, and that is where most of your dives are going to originate from. So just to kind of give you an overview before we dive into the actual sites, you're going to have 3 types of scuba diving in Phuket. Basically, you're going to have what's called a boat dive, which is going to take you to any of these locations on the map. You're going to have some shore diving, and if you look on the left side of the screen, you're going to see Kata Beach, and then you're going to see Naiharn Beach. Both of those actually have some shore diving that you can participate in. And then the third type of dive, which we're not going to really discuss, and it's not on the map, is what's called a liveaboard. A liveaboard takes you way northwest of this map up into the Similan Islands. And I've never experienced that, so I can't talk to it, but it is basically what it sounds like. It's a liveaboard. You're going to pay for everything. You're going to live on the boat for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, however many days you choose, and you're going to be doing 2, 3, maybe even 4 dives per day. So it's something I'm going to do in the future, but as of yet I have not done it and I can't comment on it. So everything starts basically as a boat dive, and it's going to start out of Chalong Bay. Where you go is going to dictate what kind of dive you have. So for example, you may still do a reef dive, or you may do a drift dive. Chances are you're going to do a wall dive, and there's even some wreck dives. So you have quite a wide range of different dives that you're going to do depending on where you go. So generally, looking at the map now, if you go south of Chalong Bay, you're going to get into 2 islands. There's Koh Racha Yai and Koh Racha Noi. Those 2 islands are typically grouped together just because of geographically they're close by. So you're going to do a 2 or a 3 tank dive in or around Koh Racha Noi or Koh Racha Yai. Generally, these aren't your deep dives. You're going to probably be in the the 30 to 40 to maybe 50 feet range. If you're conservative on air, you're going to get capped out at 50 minutes, regardless of how much air you've got left in your tank. Generally, your dives are going to start out, you're going to have about 220 bar in a tank, and you're going to go till about 50 bar. That's the safety stop at 50, and then you're out of the water. Or if you're conservative, 50 minutes. And then some of the other places you can see is if you start looking at the bottom right corner, you're going to see Phi Phi Don, Phi Phi Lay, Koh Bita Nai, Koh Bita Nok, Palong Wall, Turtle Rock. So that's your quote-unquote Phi Phi Island dives. So those, again, you're going to do a 2 or 3 tank dive at Phi Phi Islands. That's a lot longer to get to, and it's going to cost you a little bit more, and I'll get into pricing in a later video. But again, kind of the same thing. You're going to see a lot more wall dives there because these are just beautiful islands. They just kind of pop up out of the middle of nowhere. Very tall, very steep. If you've seen the movie The Beach by Leonardo DiCaprio, it was actually filmed on one of the islands out here. So you'll see it's just an island just kind of sticking up out of the middle of the ocean, and it goes down into the water. So you're going to see some beautiful wall dives, a lot of coral, a lot of sea life, some caves here and there that you may be able to pop your head into as well. Again, awesome diving. And then on your way back from there, so you'll do 2 dives in the PP Island area, and then as you start heading back from that bottom right corner, heading back towards Chalong Bay, you're going to see a place called Kodak Mai. That's just another little island kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's sort of the halfway point back to Chalong Bay, so that's where you're going to do your 3rd dive. So you'll get 2 dives in the PP Island area, and that's a natural conservatory area, so it's an underwater park. And then halfway back, you're going to stop off at Kodak Mai. You'll get your 3rd tank dive, and then you'll complete your ride back into Chalong Bay. So that's another day. And then a 3rd day is going to be on the top part here. You're going to see those 3 dive sites clumped together, kind of in the middle section on the upper half of the map. You're going to see King Cruiser Wreck, Shark Point, and Anemone Reef. So those 3, obviously, they're pretty close together. So those 3 are grouped together. I can tell you right now that King Cruiser is an advanced dive. So if you're not an advanced open water diver, then you're going to have to sit that dive out. It's a wreck dive. The King Cruiser wreck it was a car transport that wrecked, I want to say, back in the early 2000s. And it's turned into essentially a huge artificial reef. The deck, the top level deck, is at about 60 feet, and if you want to go all the way underneath, you can actually go down underneath under the stern. That'll take you down to about 97 feet. So you're definitely beyond just the open water recreational limits, and you are definitely into the advanced open water area. In fact, even as an open water, you're stretching it just to get down to the top deck of 60 odd feet. So really, if you're not advanced, you're not going on the King Cruiser wreck. And in fact, a dive shop, they won't even let you go. Chances are they probably will tell you don't even go on that dive that day, because you're going to lose out on that tank dive, and you're going to be limited to basically sitting on the boat for the first 45 minutes while everybody does the King Cruiser, and then you can participate in Shark Point and Anemone Reef. But again, certainly wouldn't say you can't go. You just know that your limitations on King Cruiser are going to be advanced open water. And again, you'll do your 3 tanks kind of right in that area, and then you'll head back to Chalong Bay. So obviously you can kind of see they got some timelines for average duration it takes on the boat to get to these different dive sites. It's going to range anywhere from 2 hours to hour and a half, hour to Kodak Mai. Technically, you're going to hit Kodak Mai on the way back in. That's your 3rd dive. So you're talking an hour and 15 to hour and 50 minutes down to Koh Ratcha Noi, almost 2 hours to King Cruiser, and then the longer day is out to PP Islands, 2.5 hours to get out there. So that's kind of your dive sites in a nutshell. So again, you're going to get all kinds of dives. You're going to get wall. You're going to get not so much drift, but basically what happens is, depending on the currents at the time and the dive site, you may get out there and, for example, you could go to Ratcha Yai 3 times and you could dive 3 different parts of the island, depending on the currents and the surf and all that stuff. So they may put you in on the north part of the island, and it's sort of a quasi drift down to the south. They may put you on the south, and you may swim up the east side, or you may swim up the west side. It all just kind of depends on the dive operator and what the sea conditions are at the time. So just because you've done all of those locations doesn't mean you can't go and do them again. So definitely, if you're looking to do multiple dives, don't necessarily rule out going back to a facility or going back to a location like Ratcha Yai, Ratcha Noi. On my last dive trip, I did King Cruiser 3 times. The first time we went deep, we got underneath, we saw some nurse sharks. And then the second time we went back, I said, hey, let's just hang out up on the top deck. There's a lot more sea life. You got some schools of fish. We saw some octopus, a lot of lionfish, that kind of stuff, kind of hidden in the nooks and crannies of the deck. So again, you can see different parts and you can see different things on the same dive, and it's just like a totally new dive for you. So definitely recommend checking out all of those. Now, in terms of what your day looks like, that's going to kind of depend on your hotels, and that's why I wanted to put this second piece in. So if you look back up at the main island of Phuket on the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see 3 areas listed, and technically there's a 4th area I'm going to talk to you about as well. So the main area that you see there is going to be Patong, and that's kind of on the top part there. Patong is the huge hotel area on the island. It's on obviously the west coast of the island. That's where you're going to find all your nightlife. You're going to find most of your restaurants. A lot of your tours are going to. You can have a lot of tour activities up in that area. So that's where most people stay. Now you go a little south of there, you got Karon Beach. A little bit further south from there, you've got Kata Beach. And then what's not shown on the map is just above the word Phuket on the coast. So you can kind of see very little tip in the very, very, very upper left-hand corner is another beach called Kamala Beach. So those areas, Kamala Beach, Patong Beach, Karon Beach, and Kata Beach, those are your 4 main beach areas that I would recommend if you're going to be doing some scuba diving in Thailand, in Phuket. You can go further north, you can get up into Surin Beach, Bang Tao, Chung Talay, but now you're pretty far north. You're getting real close to the airport actually, because the airport's very far north. And when you're that far north, 1, there's not going to be a lot of scuba shops up there, and 2, you're going to be getting up crazy early to get on a van to get to Chalong Bay, and you're also probably going to be paying more money for it because you're so far away. So my recommendation is don't go any farther north than Kamala Beach, and then I would say don't go any further south than Kata Beach. And that's I recommend staying on the west side of the island because you can still have a lot more stuff to do. Technically, you can get a hotel right over there at Chalong Bay, and you could literally walk to the pier to get on the boat to dive. And if that's all you want to do, then by all means go for it. But you're going to be severely limited on other things to do. You're going to be very limited on restaurants. You're going to be very limited on nightlife if that's your thing, and you're going to be very limited on a lot of other touristy type stuff. Shopping is going to be very limited over there. Chalong Bay is a very local Phuket, so you're not going to see a lot of touristy type stuff that you may be looking to do outside of your diving activities. Whereas if you stay in Patong, you've got Jung Salong Mall, huge shopping area. Kamala Beach is an outstanding beach that you can go hang out at. Karon, great area. Kata has a wonderful beach, one of the best beaches in Phuket. So you've got a lot more options if you stay on the west side of town. And again, check my channel. I got a lot of videos out there for beaches, walk to the beach, Kamala Beach, Patong Beach, Kata Beach, as well as some shopping in the Patong area. So definitely my recommendations there. Hotels, I've got a couple of recommendations on hotels. My other videos on my channel, you can definitely check them out. But in this video, suffice it to say, you want to stay at Kamala Beach, Patong Beach, Karon Beach, Kata Beach. In terms of what your day looks like, depending on where you're staying. So the further north you stay, you're going to get up earlier and earlier. So if you're staying all the way up in Kamala Beach, you're probably going to be getting into a van at probably anywhere from 7 to 7:15 in the morning, because that van's probably going to drive down to Patong to pick up people, and then it may pop down to Karon or Kata before ultimately heading over to Chalong Bay. So the closer you stay to Chalong Bay on the west side, the later you get to sleep, if that makes sense. So if you're staying in Kata Beach, that's basically the quote-unquote last stop where the van's going to be picking up passengers before you head over to Chalong Bay to get on the boat. So you're going to get from, say, for example, Kata, you're probably looking at closer to 7:45 to maybe even 8 o'clock in the morning. You're waiting for your van to get it picked up. Because from Kata over to Chalong Bay, it's maybe a 15-20 minute ride. You get there about 8:30. You're on the dive boat by 9. The boat pulls out, and by like 10:30 to 11 o'clock, you're basically getting wet on your first dive. Whereas if you're all the way up in Kamala, maybe you get up at 7. Picked up at 7. It takes 30 to 45 minutes to get down to Kata, picking up people along the way, and then you get over to Chalong Bay 8 o'clock, 8:30. Get on the boat, and then again, it takes off from there. So generally what you're going to find is you're on the boat by about 9:30. You're cruising out at Chalong Bay, 9:30 or so. Anywhere from 10:30 to 11 o'clock, you're basically hitting your first dive spot, unless it's PP Islands, and then you still got a little ways to go. So basically, by 11 o'clock, generally, you're in the water on your first dive. If it's a Racha Noi, Racha Yai, figure an hour between diving and getting out of the water. And then they generally build in anywhere from 45 minutes, 50 minutes to an hour surface interval. So you've got an hour in the water, an hour out, an hour in the water, an hour out, an hour in the water, and then you're heading back. So all told, you're probably going to be getting back from the closer dives like Racha Yai, Racha Noi, and then up top there, the King Cruisers, Anemone Reef, Shark Point. You're going to be getting back to Chelong Bay, Chelong Pier, probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you've got your van ride back. So probably, anywhere from 4:30 to 5 p.m. You're back at your hotel. PP Island's a little bit longer, so you're going to take off a little bit earlier. So if you're as far north as Kamala Beach, you may be looking at like a 6:30, 6:45 a.m. pickup. They're going to want to get out of Chelong Bay a little bit quicker, so they're probably going to be on the road, want to be on the water by about 8, get you over to PPA by 10:30, 11 o'clock, get your 2 dives, kind of cruise back to Kodak Mai. That's your surface interval after your second dive. Do a dive Kodak Mai, and then you got another hour back to Chelong Bay, and you're pulling in there 4:30, 5 o'clock, and now you're doing a reverse process, get on the van, get back to your hotel, somewhere around, on a PP Island dive day, you're probably getting back to your hotel about 6 p.m. So it's a long day. I mean, you're close to 12 hours by the time you get back. Again, depending on how many people are in the van, that could play into it as well. So you're definitely looking at some long days, and you definitely want to coordinate any kind of nightlife activity around what you're going to be doing. If you're getting about 6 a.m. the next morning to go diving, you want to keep it kind of quiet the evening prior. And then what I typically did was I would dive for a day, take a day off, dive for a day, take a day off. I did do a couple back-to-back days based on what the weather conditions were looking like, as well as what the dive sites were for the upcoming day. So that's kind of in a nutshell what your overview of Thailand diving is. Again, you got your 3 dives, 3 types of dives: boat dives, shore dives, and liveaboards. Your day's going to start around 7 a.m. and it's going to finish anywhere from 5 to 6 p.m. You're going to get your 2 or 3 tank dives in everywhere you go. Just real quick, shore dives. If you wanted to do a shore dive out of Kata, off on the left side of the map, or even Naiharn down at the bottom tip of Phuket Island, you certainly can do that. Some of the boutique dive shops, and we'll get into a later video, but some of the boutique dive shops will run shore dives for you. They'll have a shop truck or something and have one of the instructors, load up some gear, throw it in the back of the truck, cruise down to one of these beaches, gear up right there in the parking lot, and just kind of walk in. You just do a standard beach entry dive. Once you get about waist deep, you throw your fins on, and then you just kind of kick to wherever you want to go. And there's some really good stuff to see, especially off Kata Beach. They've got some artificial reefs that they've submerged. So you got some sea life showing up there as well. So definitely don't rule that out. It's obviously going to be a little bit cheaper than your actual 2 or 3 tank boat dive. Also, before I forget, on the boat dives, you're going to get at least 2 meals. You're going to get a breakfast meal. So you're going to get your safety brief as you're pulling out of Chelong Pier. After you get that safety brief, put the life jackets back in the stowage. Get lined up, and you're going to have a nice breakfast. It's going to be a combination of Thai breakfast as well as Western breakfast. So you get your eggs and sausage, as well as probably get some curries and some pad Thai noodle type dishes. After you do your first dive, you're going to have snacks. After you do your second dive, there's going to be lunch. Again, lunch is going to be it could be anything. It's going to be some kind of fried chicken, maybe some pasta dish. You'll have a tossed salad, dressing, that kind of stuff. You're going to have unlimited drinks, unlimited coffee, water, and tea. Depending on the company depending on the boat, you may have unlimited soda, or you may have to pay for the soda. And if you do, it's probably 20 baht. It's going to be pretty reasonably priced. And then, of course, after your third dive, you're going to have more snacks at the very end. They'll have pancakes and some fruit and that kind of stuff available to you. So you're basically going to eat for your day. You may get home after you get dropped off at the van. You may want to go out for dinner or anything, but it's not like you're going to be starving, and you certainly don't need to carry any food with you when you get onto the boats in the morning. Also, lastly, highly recommend bringing some kind of sunscreen. Specifically, there's some reef safe sunscreens out there. Anything with a zinc oxide is reef safe. And most of the sunscreens nowadays are not reef safe. They've got all these crazy chemicals in there, which will actually end up bleaching the reef. So definitely look for the zinc oxide. Some of the boats actually sell it on the boat for you, and I think you can get a small tube for, I think, about 350 baht. A little 4-ounce tube, or maybe it's a 2-ounce tube, I forget. But I picked one up. You know, definitely consider getting something like that. There is shade areas on the boats, obviously, and you can sit inside as well, but you may want to sit out and catch a little sun. So that and a towel is also highly recommended. And then, of course, they're going to ask you for some tips for the boat crew. As you're leaving, they're going to pass a donation bucket. They're looking for, you know, maybe 100 baht or 50 baht or something like that for the boat crew. And then, of course, it's up to you if you want to tip your instructor or your dive master as well. So that about covers the first video of diving in Phuket, Thailand. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you like this video, please click the like button, and please consider subscribing to my channel. It helps me grow, helps me understand what everybody's looking for. So until the next video, hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you out there. Take care.